Hello everybody, welcome back to Books with Bengus Khan. I think I got a fun video for you here today about fantasy covers. But I want to do it a little differently, just presenting ones that I think are great, or the top 10 worst covers. I want to compare apples to apples here, and I want to look at good versus bad covers, mostly within the same series, for the same authors, or ones that are in a similar vein. So, what do I look for in a fantasy cover? I would say I love it when the cover depicts unique, specific things from the book that are meaningful to that book. So, meaningful characters, settings, scenes. I love it when the colors are bold, there's some interesting contrasts, and I really want it to be something that brings me to the book, and that when I pick it up every time and put it down, that I am left with a really indelible visual impression or emotional impression from that. So it's a pretty key aspect of my reading experience, and something that also draws many people to getting books. So it's also something that's just fun to debate and talk about. So here we go. The first ones I want to look at are some covers for a Malazan Book of the Fallen book, Memories of Ice. It's book 3. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Tremendous book. But the cover that most people are familiar with, I think, is particularly weak. That's the mass market paperback cover here. It's extremely generic. We got a Roman or Greek type soldier stepping through some blurry, what looks very digitally rendered fire. And it just is very dark. It doesn't give you any impression of any particular character or scene. Contrast that with the majesty of Todd Lockwood's painting on the trade paperback. Look at this beauty. This really pops in terms of its colors. It's bright, it's an interesting color palette in the sky. But what we have are two meaningful characters from the book. One of the most impactful scenes and settings in what's an extremely epic, cataclysmic book. And this painting does it justice. I mean, we got the tiger stripes on the face, we got all the scars on the body, the blood on the swords, blood dripping down the building here. It really nails the aftermath of this scene. It gives off the vibes of epic, high fantasy, which is exactly the right vibe for the series and for this book. Doing an amazing book justice. This one would be more at home on your second-rate historical fiction. It is really a crime against the Malazan reader and not doing Stephen Erickson justice. I don't fault Steve Stone, the artist here. He's a tremendous artist. I think this is probably the fault of the publisher and their design team, for whatever reason, decided to move away from something like this to something super generic. And really, just I feel bad for any reader that has to just deal with this cover all the time. Steve Stone did some amazing Malazan covers. The book right before Memories of Ice, Deadhouse Gates, look at that. That yellow palette is just bringing amazing vitality to the scene. We have the metaphor of the dogs coming through the clouds there. If you know the book, you know how important that is. And just a very, very impactful painting there. And the book right after Memories of Ice, House of Chains, I love it. This purple painting with all these giant, massive dogs. Are they real dogs? Are they statues? Got the little people down there. So Steve Stone did some tremendous work on the Malazan covers, but not Memories of Ice. Next, I want to look at Riyria with Michael J. Sullivan. So I read his 6-book series, Riyria Revelations, really enjoyed it, but the covers are atrocious. And Michael Sullivan, the author, will tell you the same thing. He really wanted them to do something different or change it, but I feel really sorry for him that he ended up with these. Just book cover after book cover, like carbon copies. Here's another one from the prequel series, The Chronicles. I mean, these are atrocious. So we have what appear to be actual photographs of modern guys in medieval rogue cosplay, just kind of cut and pasted onto some generic background. It's ugly, folks. And what makes it worse is that it doesn't capture the vibe of these characters. This is supposedly Hadrian? No. That's supposedly Royce? This doofus here? No. This doesn't do the characters justice. Book after book, it's just putrid, honestly. Now, eventually, Sullivan was able to get an amazing artist to do his covers, Mark Simonetti. So when the Riyria Chronicles changed to him, we got this beauty. Now, unfortunately, they were already doing the pattern of making the paintings half size, which was good when they were terrible looking, but not so good when they were beautiful paintings. This, I feel like, could be a landscape in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's stunning. The ocean, the sky, this very atmospheric castle. We got Hadrian and Royce there on their horses. This actually captures the vibe of the book really well, which is very boring. This book, not much happens. The painting actually is very book accurate in that sense. So, well done, Mark Simonetti, on all counts. The next books that I have for you come from an author that's not as popular as most of the ones on BookTube. I have yet to read them, but I've heard very good things about the books themselves. And the author is Robert V.S. Redick in the Red Wolf Conspiracy series. Now, this is book 2. Check out this amazing high fantasy cover. When I saw this, I was just blown away. I loved everything about it. We got the beautiful dark blue background, the yellow that contrasts with it throughout the painting and then in the title text. We have this really cool curved structure. Is it organic? Is it man-made? It's not clear. There's this giant bowl-like thing at the top of it. Is this a tornado? What is a Sidewinder? It makes you really question what's going on here. We have these two characters standing with their backs to us. It gives off an adult epic fantasy vibe, I would say, which I know the series is adult fantasy. Now contrast that with book 1, which does not give off that same vibe. Master Assassins. Now, this painting is a great painting. I would never be able to do anything even close to this, and I do not fault the artist here. But the vibe I get from this cover is it's not young adult fantasy. It's middle grade fantasy. I feel like this would have targeted the 10-year-old me. There's something about the riding on the tiger, the poses of the two main characters here running away, their expressions. I don't fully understand why it feels that way, but I've seen other people online feel the same way, and I just feel bad for Robert V.S. Redick that he's facing an uphill battle with trying to market this series to adults with this cover. But they're doing a much better job with book 2, and hopefully book 3 will take its cue from this one and not book 1. Okay, let's talk about the Wheel of Time. Everyone's favorite whipping boy with fantasy covers. Now, for good reason. I mean, Darrell K. Sweet is an extraordinary artist. He's capable of some amazing covers. Around the same time that the Wheel of Time was coming out, David Farland's The Runelords series was coming out with Darrell K. Sweet covers as well. And take a look at these awesome 90s fantasy covers. This is book 1, The Runelords. Just love the color contrasts here that are going on. The immaculately rendered ghost warriors. And just love the details, the colors. Everything there screams high fantasy. Love it. And this is book 3 of the Runelords, Wizardborn. Now, come on. How awesome is that? That is tremendous. What is this thing? I want to read this just from the cover. Undoubtedly. I mean, this is high epic fantasy. Love the painting. Love how bold it goes. Fantasy. Just everything about it. Amazing. Now, where did that personality go with the Wheel of Time covers? Book 4? The Shadow Rising? So many epic things happen in this book. We're going on the Oregon Trail. Next book, Fires of Heaven. We're standing around. Don't know what to do. Man, not much is going on in these covers. But worst of all, Book 6, one of my favorites in the series, Lord of Chaos. We have Fabio Rand. Rand is probably around 20, something like that in the series. We have 20 going on 40 maybe here. It's all wrong for Rand. It's the entirely wrong vibe. He looks like he was just transplanted off the latest Harlequin romance cover. And he's like, what am I doing here? Where is this? This isn't where I'm supposed to be. Oh no. Daryl K. Sweet, like I showed you with the Runelords covers, did a great job with those. I also think he nailed it with book 8 of the Wheel of Time. The Path of Daggers. Ooh, the colors that are contrasting here just pop with the reds on the banner, the yin-yang symbol, the whites. We have amazing detail. Rand here comes across, I think, with the right vibe for the book and where he's at. He might not be the right age here, but he's closer to 20 than he was in Lord of Chaos. And we got lots of detail with the other warriors on the wraparound. We have this great fantasy detail here. So, loved the cover for Path of Daggers. But the real masterpiece of the Wheel of Time is Michael Whalen's contribution with the final book, A Memory of Light. This is a masterpiece. Rand here is just rendered beautifully. The colors are contrasting wonderfully with the blues in the sky, the reds on the jacket, this translucent sword. The technical skill here on display is astounding, but it's the understanding of the character's essence at this moment. This looks like someone who's been through the ringer for 13 books and is coming out here in book 14 with resolve. Michael Whalen, just wonderfully done. Now, to stay on the Wheel of Time for a bit more, they did new paintings for the ebook covers when those were released, and they put those on the trade paperback versions. And most of them were really great, and I enjoyed most of them, but the one for Knife of Dreams just did not land for me. This painting here is dopey with the poses, the expressions. It looks like there's some sort of ninja throwing a fireball there. Are we in Mortal Kombat? I mean, the Rand here looks also 40 years old, but like a modern cousin of Paul Rudd or something. I don't know. It's just the poses. It looks like they were posing for a photograph, and it's not natural. Everything is really dark. It's hard to see what's going on. Not a particularly impactful emotional moment in the book here. I don't know. I dislike that painting immensely. But in contrast, the one for The Shadow Rising, it left an indelible mark on me. Every time I put the book down, I would see it. Every time I picked it up, I would think about it. Now, that's what a book cover should do. That is the painting of Matt from The Shadow Rising. I'll try to avoid spoilers because it's such a meaningful moment for the book and the series. We have just dripping with emotion here. We have his famous weapon. The birds are important symbols for him. Just the the composition with the way he's framed by the lines of the tree, the line here of the spear going through him, through behind his back, just creates an indelible image that has stayed with me even long since I put the book down. And also the color contrast. It's a dark vibe, but it has really light contrast and darker areas which really make it pop and bring it alive. So this painting is an absolute masterpiece that I think adds to your experience of the book, which is exactly what a great cover should do. Moving on to First Law. First Law is one of my favorite series, but the books are so unique in tone and in content that I think it's really hard for everyone to nail down what to do on the covers. There aren't very many great First Law covers, but the US covers for the 3 standalones are particularly just awful and get the wrong vibe completely. One of my favorite single books, The Heroes, just has a horribly generic cover. Just from this cover, you'd think The Heroes is all about brawny guys stabbing each other with swords. But honestly, it's much more about the futility of war, the way that everyone doesn't want to be there fighting a worthless battle, the conversations everyone's having before and in between the battle scenes and after. It's about so much more, but this would make you think it's just, guys swinging swords. And it's really not. Now, I feel like they did this possibly to stick with the theme that they used for Best Served Cold. I don't really like the Best Served Cold US cover either. It doesn't really seem like Manza, the main character. It's too glamorous, I think. I think the British cover of Best Served Cold does a much better job. So this is the good one. This is, I feel, my favorite First Law cover that captures the actual character, the main character from the book, and is not just some generic brawny arm. And they doubled down on this, though, because for Red Country, they went with something exactly the same. Once again, just with no personality, with none of the wit, the satire. So just a complete failure. The art here does nothing for me. Just generic all the way around. Speaking of generic, we have the UK Sun Eater covers. So it's one of my favorite new series. And they're okay. They're not bad. They're just, they feel like generic sci-fi. There's interesting colors, and I like the kind of unified theme that they're going with. They'll all look like a matching set, that's for sure. But they should just go with the US covers because they're some of the most striking covers that exist on planet Earth by the artist Kieran Yanner, who is just doing unbelievable things. Here's book 2, Howling Dark. I mean, this is one of the most striking pieces of book art I've ever seen. This could be a disciple of Caravaggio. I mean, look at that chiaroscuro contrast between the dark background and the light of the glowing sword, of the hair and the skin, the golden cloak. If you read the book, you know who this is. It's a very important character for the book. You can tell the artist read it because it's the right vibe for that character. There's amazing details you might not be able to see with all these dark tubes heading in to this character who seems like some sort of humanoid, and just fantastic. I love the design of these covers with the big title. It really pops. It's amazing. But he didn't slouch off after that. Book 3, Demon in White. Another stunning painting. Once again, a very meaningful character from the book. The colors here are different from the book previous, but they really pop all the same. And then another absolutely tremendous cover. Book 4, Kingdoms of Death. Here we have an alien character who's also very important. And it's an image that every time I picked up the book, I was thinking about, and I was referencing that, and as I was reading and visualizing, really added to my experience. I love the kind of green color of that dominates the background, contrasting with the grayish white of the skin of this character. I don't want to say who it is, but love the vibe I get off this cover. And the next book coming out, Ashes of Man, another stunning cover. I don't want to say who that is, but it's a very meaningful character. Absolutely love this character and this cover. So Kieran Yanner just is killing it. All right, a little quick good versus bad here. We have the original Royal Assassin painting by Michael Whalen for Robin Hobb's second book in the Farseer trilogy. Love this cover. It's very meaningful to what's in the book. It is a really stunning kind of color palette with the blues and purples, with the kind of sunset that's going on there. Just really love that painting. That yells epic fantasy to me. What doesn't is the newer US Assassin's Apprentice cover, which is so goofy. It's fine, but it doesn't add anything to the experience. What is this translucent reindeer in the background? I mean, if you have read these books, you know who this is. I mean, this is a disaster for Robin Hobb. This is why everyone is now buying the UK versions of the Realm of the Elderlings, because these US covers are a disaster area. Alright, in the next versus battle, we have some Orbit Daniel Abraham books. Now, the latest release was Age of Ash. And look at this. Stunning painting. They repeat it on the back because it's so good without the text overlaid, so you can see all the details. I mean, this painting could go right up alongside Peter Bruegel the Elder's paintings. I mean, look at the details you get here of the people living on the ground, this massive, colossal structure that I'm sure is important for the setting. I haven't read this one yet, but I very much am looking forward to it. And we have this amazing contrast between light and dark, between where the sun's hitting on the building and where it's in shadow. Just a stunning cover. Now contrast that with his earlier series. This is book 2 of the Dagger and the Coin series, The King's Blood. That is one giant pile of meh. Compared to this, Daniel Abraham's getting treated a lot nicer at Orbit than he used to, because we just have a generic axe, some digitally rendered reddish sky, a grass field there. It's just a big nothing burger. Whereas this one, you could stare at this painting for hours and probably find new things to wonder at. So this one's really elevating the book. And sorry he has these generic covers for the Dagger and the Coin, but can't wait to try them out though. Next up, I have a couple of recent self-pub releases that both feature a diagonally aligned sword. So they're not from the same author, but they're both self-pub, and here they are. Can you pick out which one I think is good and which one I think is not? You might not be having much trouble, because Tiago Abdullah's A Touch of Light cover is stunning work. This screams high fantasy. There's amazing colors that are popping out here. The orange is on the tree, which they also put on the spine, which you'll be able to see when it's on the shelf. I love that. We have this very unique looking tree. We have light streaming through the building, which gets repeated on the back as well. I mean, this really drew me to the book and was calling my name to read it. Come read me, read me. This was not. I picked this up because of Petrick's review, which really praised the text, but he also criticized the cover. There's just not a lot going on here. Now, I don't want to pile on too much. I know it's a debut for a self-pub author. He might not have had the wherewithal and the resources to go all out for a great cover. But now that his name's out there, my man, for the next book, we got to do something a little extra, something that's a little bit more than what's going on here. All right, and to finish up, let's get ready to rumble with Sanderson's Stormlight Archive. On one side, we have the epic beginning, The Way of Kings. This painting has become iconic in the genre. Incredibly meaningful for the story and the characters. The setting, the storm, the clouds, very meaningful. The colors here with the sunset contrasting with the clouds are just tremendous. The way the sword is pointed out in that diagonal, this banner here, everything, the composition just comes together. It's striking. In the other corner, we have Book 3, Oathbringer. Now, similarly epic book, but not so epic of a cover. I mean, we have a kind of blurry picture of Yasna here. The colors all kind of blend in this kind of beige, muddy color. This is an epic scene from the book, and in the wraparound, you can barely make out the giant rock monster Thunderclass there, but you can barely see it. Something that could be so epic on a cover. Just the character rendering here just doesn't do it for me. It's just up against a brick wall, stone wall of some kind. Whereas this one, this epic landscape, which just sets the mind a-wondering about what this all could be about. And yeah, this one doesn't add too much to it. So Michael Whalen is a genius, but for whatever reason, the Oathbringer one just did not work for me. So that's what I'm hoping for out of the cover. Something that's distinctive, unique to the book, that pops, that leaves me with an indelible image as I'm picking the book up or closing it and putting it away. So let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with any of my takes. I'd love to see what you think, and I'll see you later.